Today, Persia White is here. She plays Lynn on the hit show Girlfriends on the CW, but she says the work she is most proud of is her role as an activist and producer of the documentary Earthlings about animal rights, which is narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. Great to have you here today, Persia.
Thank you.
I see you've got the dog there too. So
a rescue dog here.
Who's your dog? What's your dog's name?
This is Kisses.
Kisses. Oh, what a beautiful
She's
dog.
a rescue.
Well, and I know you just got back from Japan. What were you doing in Japan?
I was in Japan to actually, on behalf of Sea Shepherd's Conservation Society, I was with them to try and speak to the Minister of Health to urge them to stop serving dolphin meat and to not build a dolphin slaughterhouse in Taiji. And the dolphin meat is actually toxic. It's 36 times higher.
Toxic?
The mercury levels are 36 times higher than allowable by the government. So
even for people, it's not good.
I'm saying, yeah, 36 times higher than what the government allows. Mercury shouldn't be ingested at all. It's actually really dangerous, and they're serving it in the school children's lunch program. A lot of people don't even know that it's dolphin meat there, and sometimes it's mislabeled. There's a lot of things that go on, and then obviously it's cruel, but actually it's a health issue. That's why we were there speaking to.
So a health issue for people. Now so they mislabel it sometimes as whale meat, you said.
Sometimes it's mislabeled as whale meat. Sometimes it could go on a different fish. It can be. But when it's a school lunch program, children don't know what it is.
Now that doesn't fly in America, I'm taking it. We don't serve dolphin meat in America for school lunches.
No.
So is it Japan in particular that you hear about whaling in Japan? Is it part of the culture over there? Or
well, this one little area of Japan, and most of the Japanese public doesn't know about this one thing that's going on. I mean, there's illegal whaling that goes on. Once again, most of the public is unaware of government things that are actually not suitable for the television. It's very hard to get media to cover things that the government doesn't want them to cover, and the public was actually really amazing. But they don't know. They're not really taught to speak up. It's a very different culture, whereas we here in America are very rowdy, we're very loud about things, and they're not taught to be that way. And so it was interesting seeing people.
So is it more like don't make any waves or that kind of thing?
No waves. People are very scared. I mean, that's one of the things with activism in general. When you go abroad, it's really different than here. There are people that are very much afraid. They're afraid for their families. There's police harassment. There's a lot that goes on when you...
Really? So even though the public as a whole, you sensed was either not aware or wasn't opposed to this, but still the government, though, is not officially... The government supports the whaling and the dolphin?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the illegal whaling, they go in sanctuaries, and then lately, I'm sure you may have heard within some of the materials I gave you, they'll go under the flag of research, but it's not actually research, and they're opening up, whales that are endangered in sanctuaries. They kill them and cut them open and look at what's in their stomach, and that's called research. I mean, and they sell the meat.
Some sort of medical research for humans?
No, they just look at what's in their intestines. That was the research, just what you said. We were like, what's the research? And then I said, well, we want to know what whales are eating. And, we're like, what? So, I mean, it's just because they were getting, basically there's international law that's being protected by Sea Shepherd's Conservation Society. And the international law is that these whales are protected and they're in sanctuaries, but these fleets that come in are, doing illegal activities.
Now, there was some sort of intervention, I guess, by the group this time, right? Because we were talking beforehand about some of the articles I saw in the paper that, the Japanese, or at least the whaling boats, said that there were environmental terrorists by the Sea Shepherd organization had intervened and were, I guess, got in the way of their boats, or what happened with that?
Well, the Sea Shepherds is sort of, I think they're one of the only groups that, it's considered to be an animal welfare group, but it's actually an environmental welfare group. Sea Shepherds protects the inhabitants of the oceans, period. The ecosystems are being ripped out of balance. I'm sure you may have heard that, by year 2040-something, we won't even have fish anymore. We'll have outfished the oceans. That was in Time magazine, was on the cover recently.
Really?
Oh yeah, we right now have right now there's global warming, there'll be megastorms. All of this is due to ecosystem imbalance, and one of the things that's contributing to that is our mass fishing and destruction of the world's oceans. So they're basically the police for international international law. They've never broken, to call someone a terrorist who's never broken a law, like they're one of the only environmental groups who's never broken a law and no one's ever gotten hurt. Even Greenpeace has had someone harmed within different
right, because sometimes you hear in the news about the way Greenpeace.
But it's never happened with Sea Shepherds. So, you know, people who are doing violations that are really going under the skirt and under the radar, because we have so much going on in the world, it's hard to pay attention to these little things that are actually going to repercussion within the next 20, 30 years into something that, you know, is really pretty drastic and sad, which is our environmental damage that was irreparable.
Were you actually out on the boats in Japan, or were you more on land doing education, or what? How directly were you involved?
I was in Japan, and I just went to the Minister of Health, the basic government buildings, to speak to the Minister of Health, and I went in Japan. I wasn't on the way. I couldn't watch dolphin slaughter. That would be a little rough on me. I've seen a lot of footage within the movie Earthlings, and it's hard enough. Yeah,
that's one thing we were talking about in advance, that even though, you know, this is a subject that there are different points of view about, but still, it is just graphic footage, and it's really, I don't know, I would think it would give anybody pause, no matter what your own political beliefs may be, watching that, you know, if you know, is it really all necessary? You know, I mean, so, but, well, you touch on 5 points in the documentary. For instance, pets. You know, you talk about the interaction between animals and people, and pets is certainly one of them along this theme. What are some of the issues for pets that people should be aware of?
Well, the first thing is like spaying and neutering is what we try and promote the most, and then to adopt from a local shelter, because people right now with breeding, there's just too many dogs, there's too many cats. People don't realize that, you know, about 80,000 animals are euthanized a day in America. Like it used to be 60 in the movie. It's actually gone up since then. And it's just, we don't have, there's just so many being killed, and then you have illegal breeders, and you've got puppy mills where they do mass production of animals that are, a lot of times there's psychological damage, inbreeding. If we've done raids on these puppy mills, and it's just disgusting, like the conditions. That's why so many dogs you get from the local mall are, I mean, it's not their fault, but a lot of them are very messed up because the conditions they've been living in are just not healthy. So
now, the footage that you showed in the documentary, how did you get that? Was that, I guess, undercover footage shot here in LA?
Many different people contributed footage, and most of it was undercover, and a little bit was through Sean Monson. He did actually go into some of the pounds. Some of it was actual footage he took. But a lot of people donated, and a lot of animal welfare groups donated, just different groups, Humane Society. We donated footage from Sea Shepherds and PETA as well.
Because some of these shelters that you would think are caring for the animals, well, I realize, well, of course, I guess the shelters get the dirty job of having to put the animals to sleep, in effect, but not all of them apparently did it in the most humane manner.
Oh yeah, a lot of places use gas chambers. They don't have the money for euthanol in a lot of places, and so they stick them in gas chambers, and they don't all die right away. They slowly suffocate. And some aren't quite dead when it's over. It's pretty brutal. And then some of them end up in lab experiments. That's another thing we've exposed, which is, you know, some shelters were selling off the dogs to vivisection labs, because I forgot how much it is, but it's for a pretty cheap price. You can sell a healthy dog, and they'll experiment on it until it dies.
So for medical research?
Yeah, different labs. I mean, they call it medical research, but I can't really justify some of it. It doesn't really make sense. Some of it's so insane.
Whether or not there's a scientific basis. So, but I guess the problem, though, I suppose, even for people who, you know, are very concerned about animals such as yourself, you can't just let them all go, right? I mean, what is the answer as far as, I mean, do you support putting some of the animals to sleep? Because what is the alternative?
I mean, we have too many animals. I try not to focus on the quick instant death as a you know, an ultimate answer. I think the answer is people working together. We've got Santa Monica's a no-kill shelter. There's shelters local pounds that have ended up being no-kill. But really, it's with all of it, the message is about a shift of perspective, about connecting the dots between your environment, you know, the animal kingdom, between your health, between mankind. It's about a shift of perspective. You don't just kill something because, you know, right now it's not working. The pounds are being more and more filled every year, so the system isn't quite working. So to have humane education, to teach people to reach out in their local community, and there's also interwebs, whereas like a pound, when they have overflow, there's systems in some cities where they'll have little pet stores will donate, you know, a little cage, and they'll give a couple. And I'm sure you've seen that around town, where there's a couple dogs for adoption here that aren't the normal with the store. They're just a little bit of a network system that's needed. And then also mainly it's just humane education. If people realize not to support these illegal breeders and puppy mills, and the system would balance things out. So it's, you know, that's what we try and condone and teach.
We'll be right back.
Pain and suffering are in themselves bad and should be prevented or minimized, irrespective of the race, sex, or species of the being that suffers. We are all animals of this planet. We are all creatures. And non-human animals experience sensations just like we do. They too are strong, intelligent, industrious, mobile.
And we are back today with Persia White talking about her animal rights documentary, Earthlings. So the no-kill shelters, how exactly does that work? How are they able to keep all of the animals alive? Is it through the donations that you're saying? Or?
Well, every shelter's different. I mean, really, there's no one method. I think there's community support. You usually have overflow. You have people who foster animals. And basically, you know, try and find homes for them. There's a million ways it goes on in different parts of the country.
We were saying during the break, to me it just seems that there is a lot more awareness these days, and there are a lot of animal lovers, more animals lovers in general, I think, in LA, because I see those signs all over the place about, you know, for pet adoptions or people, or, you know, people rescue, animal rescues, that sort of thing. And is that your perception too, that people are more
I do see a rise in
involved
consciousness. I think that people are more conscious and caring than ever before. You know, I think there's also more cruelty going on than ever before, but there's also more people that are willing to try and stop cruelty, which is, you know, one of the best parts of being involved with Humane Society as a board member, because you get to be very active in the world of compassion and see that there are a lot of people who are trying.
So you're on the board of the Humane Society and also involved with the Sea Shepherd organization as well?
Yes. Yeah.
So, of course, another topic you touch on in the documentary is food. And that's probably one of the more problematic issues for some people, the fact that, you know, some people like to eat meat.
Right.
What's your take on that? I'm assuming you're vegan or vegetarian?
I'm vegan, yeah.
Okay. I didn't think there was another answer.
Yeah.
So, but what would you say to the people then who say, well, who are meat eaters?
Right.
I mean, do you think it's morally wrong, or is that just your choice?
You know what?
How do
it's a gradient step. I would never condemn somebody for not being like me. I wasn't born a vegan. I mean, I made a mental, social change that took a while to get to that.
When did you make the change? How old were you?
I was 12 when I turned vegetarian,
12.
and then vegan was about 7 years ago. So it was, I did it gradually, and to me that's gradual. I didn't like go, I've known people that went vegan right off, but for me it was really hard at first, you know, socially. It was like, also things have changed. It's more, more accessible to be vegetarian now than ever before. But more than anything, I just think that one of the things I work on is factory farm conditions. I don't try and tell people not to eat any animals at all, as much as I try and make them aware of how dangerous the meat is right now. Simple thing like, most of our meat is banned in the entire European Union, like because of the hormones we use. They've been banned in the 70s in Europe. The bovine hormone put in for milk production in cows, which makes them mass produce, was banned in the 70s because it causes cancer, tumors. And then it was brought back in the United States again through different administrations, lobbyists, and this is dangerous, causing tumors, children. And so many people are affected. We've got mad cow, we've got E. coli, we've got foot and mouth disease, we've got bird flu. All of these were due to unhealthy, unethical factory farm conditions, which little farms have been taken over. A lot of people don't realize that it's completely changed. One of the groups I work with is called Farm Sanctuary, and they change laws, just work towards farm welfare, and it's
because you
to
don't
make
really
it
have
safer.
the mom and pop farmers these days. It's all corporate farms in America, I think. I mean,
like 90-something% have been completely squeezed out, and it's really sad. I loved reading the book Fast Food Nation because it explained a lot about that. It was like, wow. I mean, it was one of the highest suicide rates for a while was small farm owners that were just losing.
And I suppose as it becomes more of a big business, then you have people looking to increase, you know, efficiency and productivity and using the chemicals.
Which
and
means
all of
mass chemicals, but then you also have, like, for example, most people don't know that the #1 cause of water pollution in the world is factory farm runoff.
Really?
in the world. We're not talking like in America, globally. It's the #1. Recently, this year, the #1 cause of air pollution, not cars, it's actually factory farms, dairy farms. I didn't know dairy farms, it just broke the meter that it actually became the #1 cause this year. And it's going on, you know, we use more water for animals, for stockyards, than we do for people. Right now, there's more antibiotics ingested in animals than there are in humans, like massively more. So
And
there's
then
a
it
lot
ends
of
up in
industry.
people
It ends
indirectly.
up in the water streams. Also, then it can cause other problems because strange viruses can form, because when we're getting too much antibiotic in our system, we can get new strains of viruses coming and invading because they become immune to the antibiotics. Not to mention all the hormones, and not to mention waterways being polluted, and a million other reasons that we need to get a cap on this. But the fact that so many people think that when we say vegetarian or vegan or activist, they think, oh, that means you're trying to tell me not to eat anything. And I'm like, no, no, no. What we want is people to put attention on those industries that are basically making massive profit off of pain and suffering and the degradation of our entire planet, as well as human health, children, families, people getting cancers they don't need to get, and it's because no one wants to look. No one wants to look at factory farms. They're like, that's disgusting. I don't want, like you saw the stuff in the movie. They're like, I don't want to look at an animal being
I
killed.
have to admit, I've never been a big meat eater myself. I do eat chicken and turkey, but I've never eaten much red meat. And partly because when I was growing up, I did see some of the, with smaller farms where I grew up, with people making their own sausage and stuff, and I saw
You
that
saw
even
some of that
mom and
stuff.
pop farms, it was never very appealing to
Not
me,
pretty.
I have to admit, yeah. So, but I guess, but are you mostly just trying to improve the conditions, or even if they did improve the conditions, would you still, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, even if they killed the animals nicely, or you know what I mean, in a good way, is that an improvement for you?
It
or
is,
it's,
absolutely.
So you would,
Absolutely. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think that people are going to ever stop completely eating animals. That's not my goal in life. My goal is to try and make it more humane, make it more safe, and to make a system where we don't have these industries basically brutally violating laws of nature, that just where animals are reduced to mere commodity, where you have some reverence for the fact that it was alive, and that you have reverence for the environment. Like, these are things that, because of big industry just getting bigger and bigger, and people not wanting to look at things that are disturbing, that's why it's gotten so out of control. And I just feel like it's something we need to all look at.
well, you know, another point of view on that, I think, is just that I've heard psychologists say, or read studies, that they say that, again, no matter whether or not you're vegetarian or not, that the cruelty to animals is usually one of the first signs or steps toward cruelty toward people. And, you know, in the video, when you show the way that, again, if you're going to kill the animals, again, if you know, when there's, well, I don't know, okay, the animals don't understand English, but they're screaming and swearing and all this stuff. You know, but you could almost, you wonder if those people do take that home with them, or if they transfer it over to people around, you know, if they like hitting the pig and then they like hitting people, or,
Yeah, there have
you
been a
know.
lot of studies on that. Just, it's very, very scary, that relation between violence towards animals and then violence towards humans, and which has been cool with the Humane Society, because there's been people who used it in the positive direction, like bring homeless dogs into a prison or in to help rehabilitate, and it actually works. There've been, you know, at-risk youth that have never even touched an animal in inner cities, and they teach them, oh, this animal is going to be put to sleep because they said, you know, there's no hope for him, he's too wild. And, you know, they kind of relate to that, a lot of the kids. They're like, oh, you know, that's basic society's doing away with me because I'm trouble. And they've actually had these wonderful, wonderful results with that. So, but yeah, there is a relation. And, you know, the fear and trauma that goes into meat, that alone, there's a chemical release with extreme fear and trauma. There's a way to reduce it. And actually, it's funny because that's a toxin, it's a poison. It's what makes the meat tough. It goes into the bloodstream the minute that fear and trauma. So the more traumatic, the more toxic the meat is. And we're trying now actually to have a humane slaughter bill passed. And what it is it's just to minimize that, and it's just to make, because right now it's so out of control, it's kind of insane.
Well, one thing I thought was interesting, you talk about kosher food, and I don't, you know, I'm not Jewish, and I don't seek out kosher food, but I knew that there were some standards that they follow. But you guys should say in the documentary that apparently people who think they're eating kosher food probably, they don't really follow the standards that people think they are? Is that
Some
the
do.
claim? Or
The
some do,
particular
but not all?
plant that we had footage of was violating the rules of kosher. I mean,
Because it looked like every rule you were saying, they were pretty much
it was
going
showing you
against.
this is what happens, because most people don't want to go in those places. That's, once again, I'm sure that that plant could have that footage brought to it, and if enough Jewish people brought that to their attention, they would close that plant down or have it changed. But it's the kind of thing that, once again, most people don't want to look at, so you don't get investigators in there going, well, is this really kosher? Let's watch the process, let's see how this is going down. And that was a massive, once again, when you get overproduction, when you get bigger corporations, that was a huge corporation, huge slaughter plant that was doing that. But it's in the film, and it blew my mind. I was like,
have they had any pressure or any, I mean, has anything happened since the documentary has come out? Have they changed conditions at all that you're aware of?
not that I know of, no. I think it takes people from the Jewish faith, like an actual person of the Jewish faith, to come forward, someone who's, high ranking, and go, this is not, it would take more. And of course, we're always working towards bringing this attention to more people. I mean, and then hopefully that'll happen, but it hasn't happened so far.
We'll be right back.
The hope for the animals of tomorrow is to be found in a human culture which learns to feel beyond itself. We must learn empathy. We must learn to see into the eyes of an animal and feel that their life has value because they are alive.
We are back today talking with Persia White about her documentary Earthlings on animal rights. Well, one thing, as we were saying during the break, that really kind of surprised me was that you take a look at various aspects of animal rights issues, and one of them is entertainment, such as hunting. But even circuses, that surprised me, because I really thought that the animal trainers, I thought that they were people who were, probably loved the animals and worked very closely with them, and, I don't know, fed them, I thought you maybe use food to get them to do what you want or something, but you actually show some pretty graphic footage of people beating the animals. And how common is that? And are you saying that's the way it's usually done, that they actually beat the animals for the circuses in general, or is that the exception or the rule? Is that
was more common. That's more common. Yes, there are always good trainers in the world. I wouldn't say that there aren't good people doing good methods, because I've met some. But when
and the good ones say you don't have to do that? I mean, they have another way of doing it?
Well, not with huge exotic animals. I've only met good trainers with more domestic animals, like dogs and things that want to please you, But a lion and an elephant really doesn't want to sit for you or please you. He doesn't, so they use those types of methods to get them to do what they want them to do. So
well, and that's why, when you were showing them hit the lion in the head, I was waiting for the lion to bite them back. Because every once in a while they do that. Even look at the Siegfried and Roy kind of thing.
But that took a minute. That's so uncommon considering what goes on. Yeah, but there's just a lot that goes on people don't see, and entertainment is one of the areas that's hard. But there's other things people don't know. Like right now, there's canned hunting, which is internet canned hunting. Where people kill animals on the internet. You pay a fee and you press the mouse and it will shoot a wild exotic animal, or there's canned hunts here in the United States.
So it's not a video game?
No,
or
it's killing an animal.
They
have a gun on top of, poached on top of a vehicle, and there's ones that even do it in Africa. You can kill an exotic endangered species.
Wow. And
so that's what we mean by entertainment being wrong. And then, of course, dog fighting. There's just so much going on. But more than anything, just once again, connecting the dots. The purpose of the film is to make you realize, get a bigger picture of what's actually going on. And hopefully I believe most people I've met have a sense of consciousness and will connect the dots between, for example, the environment, their humanity, their consciousness, and how we treat other beings. It's not about just an animal. It's racism, sexism, all of it is under the same umbrella of when the person in position of power abuses that power and reduces that other living being to a mere commodity. And that's what we're trying to show, that they're not commodities. They do feel, and they do have a right to be here, and they do have a right to be treated justly, especially since we're the dominant force on this planet. It's our moral obligation to do that. And I think, more than anything, we know that now. We've seen injustices time and time and time again, and it's the same type of abuse that we see going on. And people want to stop it when they see it. The majority of people know it's wrong.
Yeah, I would even think with hunting. I mean, again, I was never a big hunter, and people in my family did hunt, but I felt like I wasn't going to eat the food anyway, so I didn't see any reason to go shoot it because I knew I wasn't going to eat it.
Right.
So I didn't see any reason to go kill something just for the sake of killing it. But you're also working on a reality show for animals.
Yeah,
Can you tell
I'm
us
very
about that?
excited. It's called Humanity, and that's basically what I'm trying to do. Very similar message to Earthlings, but a television version where we go and we show activists and we show everybody that they can become an everyday hero. Any person can participate, anybody can volunteer. It's more of an interactive show where we give the audience a chance to send in information of what they've done locally or send in their story, and they can take part of becoming a raise of consciousness in society. So,
well, great to have you here today, Persia. We're a bit out of time, but I want to say your new album is going to be coming out too.
It's called Problem Child, and it's XEO3 is my band, and that'll be out in February or March. We're hoping for February.
Thank you very much for being here today. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time. Persia White from Girlfriends.
Thank you.
Mondays on the CW. But I love that.
Persia White.